throwaway account because my family is currently blowing up my phone and trying to find my location. I'm still shaking a little bit from adrenaline, but honestly, I've never felt more powerful. Here is the backstory. I have always been the scapegoat of the family, while my younger sister Chloe is the ultimate golden child. Chloe has never held a job for more than 3 months, constantly gets into debt, and my parents bail her out every single time. 3 years ago, my grandfather passed away. He was the only person in my family who saw how unfairly I was treated. To everyone's absolute shock, he bypassed my parents and Chloe completely in his will, and left his 2-bedroom apartment in the city directly to me. It's fully paid off, in a prime location, and beautiful. My parents were furious. They tried to contest the will back then, but my grandfather's lawyer was a shark, and everything was ironclad. For the last 3 years, I've lived here peacefully, paying my own property taxes and building a life. I went low contact with my family, only seeing them on major holidays. Fast forward to last month. Chloe got pregnant by her on-and-off boyfriend, who promptly ghosted her. Chloe, true to form, has no savings and is currently living in my parents' cramped basement. My mom called me 2 weeks ago, sobbing about how Chloe needs a safe, stable, and upscale environment to raise the baby. She asked if Chloe could move into my 2nd bedroom. Me. Mom, absolutely not. Chloe has zero respect for my boundaries, she doesn't clean, and I work from home. I need my 2nd bedroom for my office. But you didn't even pay for that apartment. It's family property. You're being so selfish. I told her the discussion was over and hung up. I was wrong. This morning around 9 a.m., my doorbell started ringing frantically. I looked through the peephole and saw my mother, my father, and a man in a sharp gray suit holding a leather briefcase. I opened the door thinking it was some kind of family emergency. My parents pushed past me into my living room, followed by the suit. Dad said, "Sit down. We need to settle this family business right now." I said, "What are you doing here? Get out of my apartment." Mom said, "Oh, stop being dramatic. This is Mr. Vance. He's a notary and a family estate lawyer." Mr. Vance looked incredibly uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact with me, as he pulled out a stack of legal documents and laid them on my coffee table. My mom smiled, this smug, triumphant grin that made my blood run cold. She handed me a pen. She said, "All you need to do is sign these transfer papers and let your sister move in. We're transferring the deed into Chloe's name so she has asset security for the baby. You can stay in the 2nd bedroom for a few months until you find a rental." I stared at the papers. It was a quitclaim deed. They were literally trying to ambush me into signing away my entire property, worth nearly $450,000, for $0. I said, "Are you insane? I am not signing this." Dad stepped up, trying to look intimidating, and said, "You will sign it. Your grandfather was senile when he gave you this place. We can tie you up in lawsuits for years and ruin your credit. Just sign it and make it easy on yourself." I looked over at Mr. Vance, the lawyer. "Me, sir, did you advise them that showing up at someone's home unannounced to coerce them into signing away real estate under duress is highly illegal?" Mr. Vance cleared his throat nervously. "I am simply here to witness and notarize a voluntary transfer, if one takes place. I told your parents that." "Shut up, Vance. She's signing it." She shoved the pen into my hand. "Sign it." H3 strong the counterattack. I took the pen. For a split second my mom looked thrilled. Then I walked over to my front door, opened it wide and tossed the pen out into the hallway. I turned back to my parents, matching my dad's glare with everything I had. I pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and showed them the screen. I had started recording audio the second they pushed their way into my home. Block quote. "I have you on tape admitting that grandfather wasn't senile, that you're trying to coerce me under duress, and threatening to maliciously ruin my life if I don't give you a $500,000 asset. You have exactly 30 seconds to grab your bootleg paperwork and get out of my home, before I call the police and file charges for trespassing and extortion." My dad went pale. My mom started screeching that I was a monster, a terrible sister, and that they would sue me for everything I'm worth. I looked directly at Mr. Vance, who was already frantically packing his briefcase. Then I looked back at my parents. "Let our lawyers meet each other in court," I shouted. Vance practically ran out the door. My dad grabbed my mom by the arm and dragged her out, while she was still screaming curses at me. I slammed the door, locked all 3 locks, and collapsed onto the floor, laughing and crying at the same time. Within an hour, I contacted a high-profile real estate and civil litigation attorney. I sent him the audio recording. He told me it was a goldmine, and that my parents' lawyer, Mr. Vance, is likely terrified right now because his presence there borders on professional misconduct. My attorney is currently drafting a formal cease and desist letter, and we are preparing to file for a restraining order against my parents based on the harassment and threats. My phone has been ringing off the hook. Chloe texted me saying I'm killing her unborn child with stress, and my aunts and uncles are calling me ungrateful. But for the first time in my life, I don't care. They tried to rob me, and they failed miserably. I'm changing my locks tomorrow and installing a Ring doorbell. See you in court, Mom and Dad. Wow, this blew up. To answer a few common questions. Yes, the audio recording is legal in my jurisdiction. One-party consent state. No, I am not backing down. My lawyer actually laughed when he heard the tape and said Mr. Vance will probably settle or cooperate just to save his own license. I've blocked my parents and Chloe on everything except email, so I have a paper trail. Thank you all for the validation. It feels good to finally stand up to them. Around 9:00 a.m. this morning, my phone rang. It wasn't my parents. It was a blocked number, and when I answered, it was none other than Mr. Vance, the family estate lawyer from yesterday. His voice was completely stripped of that professional smooth tone he had in my living room. He sounded like a man who hadn't slept a wink. He repeatedly apologized, claiming he was misled by my parents into believing this was a prearranged, amicable family meeting to finalize a gift. He practically begged me not to report him to the State Bar Association, emphasizing that he immediately withdrew from representing my parents the second he left my building. I didn't give him an inch. I simply told him, you can explain all of that to my attorney, gave him my lawyer's contact information, and hung up. When I relayed this to my lawyer, he was ecstatic. He said Mr. Vance's panic is our ultimate leverage, and Vance is likely going to hand over his own notes and statements about my parents' behavior, just to protect his own skin. Meanwhile, my extended family has officially split into 2 factions. My aunt, my mom's sister, called me from a new number to tell me she is disgusted by what my parents tried to do. Apparently, my mom had told the whole family a massive lie. She claimed I had offered to give the apartment to Chloe because I felt guilty about my grandfather's will, and that they were just going over to sign the paperwork I asked for. When my aunt found out they actually ambushed me with a surprise notary, she was horrified. She told me she's cutting contact with my mom too, which felt like an incredible validation after years of being the family outcast. Chloe, of course, is still playing the victim. She sent an email to my work address claiming that by keeping the apartment, I am stealing from my future niece or nephew. It's hilarious how she thinks a baby is a magical voucher that entitles her to a $500,000 piece of real estate. The new smart lock and Ring doorbell are being installed as I type this. My lawyer's cease and desist letter is being officially served to my parents later this afternoon. If they so much as step a foot in my building's lobby again, the police will be waiting for them. They wanted to use the law as a weapon to bully me, but they forgot that the law actually protects the people who play by the rules. I'm finally breathing easy. The cease and desist letter was officially served to my parents yesterday afternoon at their house. According to my aunt, who was over there trying to mediate, it did not go down well. My mom apparently threw a temper tantrum so severe she broke one of her own favorite ceramic vases, screaming that I was suing my own blood. They genuinely believed that because they are my parents, legal boundaries shouldn't apply to them. Watching them finally realize that a legally binding document penned by a high-powered law firm has more weight than their parental guilt trips has been incredibly satisfying. My lawyer also pulled a brilliant move. Along with the C&D, he sent a formal courtesy copy to Mr. Vance's office, effectively signaling that we know exactly how compromised Vance's position is. By noon today, Mr. Vance's firm sent over a signed affidavit detailing the entire timeline of how my parents pressured him into drafting the quitclaim deed under false pretenses. He completely threw my parents under the bus to save his own career, confirming in writing that my dad explicitly told him I was 100% on board, and that the meeting was just a formality. My lawyer says this affidavit is the final nail in the coffin. If my parents try to take me to court to contest the will now, they'll be laughed out of the room and likely penalized for filing a frivolous lawsuit. As for Chloe, The reality of her situation is finally crashing down on her. With the apartment completely off the table, and my parents realizing they can't bully their way into a free handout, they've told Chloe she has to get a job to help pay for the baby supplies. Chloe is, predictably, furious that she actually has to take responsibility for her life. She sent one final desperate email blaming me for ruining her life's timeline, but I didn't even bother replying. I just forwarded it straight to my lawyer's harassment folder. Today is the first day in weeks that my phone has been completely quiet. I spent the morning sitting on my balcony, drinking coffee, and looking out at the city view my grandfather left for me. I used to feel so much guilt for being the family outcast, but now I realize that being cast out by toxic people is actually a blessing. They wanted to see me in court, but now they're doing everything they can to stay as far away from a courtroom as humanly possible.